Well, I guess let's start, or maybe wait for some a couple of minutes, maybe.
I believe we should start.
Okay. So, assalamu alaikum, everyone, whoever have joined, and some people will more be coming to join us. And we are hosting South Calgary is hosting this event where we are trying to give answers to your all your immigration questions, or maybe whatever the time limits. Let us to answer your questions and your concerns. And to start, I would ask Mr. Adnan Sami to say some to recite some Quran for us, please. Mr. Adnan Sami, bhai.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Adnan Shami, and one of the etiquettes described to us by Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is to say Astaghfirullah before starting any majlis or any meeting or anything. So there is a prescribed dua which I would recite. First, I would recite it in Arabic, and I would give you a brief English translation as well. So. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Glory is to you, O Allah, and praise is to you. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship but you. I seek your forgiveness and repent to you. Ameen.
Ameen.
So this is a dua, and I would also translate it in Urdu for our Urdu listeners, participants. ए अल्लाह आप पाक है, मैं आपकी तारीफ बयान करता हूँ, मैं गवाही देता हूँ कि आपके सिवा कोई माबूद नहीं, मैं आपसे माफ़ी चाहता हूँ और आपके सामने तौबा करता हूँ. So over to you, Nadeem bhai. That's a special dua.
Thank you very much, Adnan bhai. That's very kind. Yes, we should always remember to say astaghfar, and that is a best deed one can have. So let me start the event now. That as you know, the South Calgary Social Society is always helping people to solve their not to solve their to bring them and engage them in the community, and do some social work for them, and do some volunteer work. And this idea was brought up by Sayyid Kashif bhai, and then Adnan Sami bhai, Sayyid Saklan bhai, Farooq Kader bhai, and we all joined to help people. We carried out quite a few events, and this is one of the event for this. And let me introduce Lyle Tommy here. And Lyle Tommy is owner of Clearport International, who are bringing in students, businessmen, and workers from all over the place. They have recently established their roots and their in Southeast Asia as well. So, but I would like to speak something about that, since this is a government-related, the immigration and the student visa and everything is a government-related thing. So the organizers and panel members are not responsible for any processing application delays or changes in the government rules, because government can change the rule anytime. Ours is a volunteer group, and we organize events which are not sponsored or for business development purposes. And we are not responsible for any activity, contract, or future business relation. With the panelists, that will be solely your own discretion. So I hand over to Lyle. Lyle, please give us a brief introduction of you and Carla. Thank you, Lyle.
Yes, thank you. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Well, thanks, first of all, to the South Calgary Social Society for inviting us to this meeting, and really grateful to be here. It was nice to hear that prayer at the beginning. That certainly brings a nice spirit into the meeting, so we appreciate that as well. I want to thank the 4 organizers of the event, and if I say your names incorrectly, please forgive me. I'm going to do my best, but my last name's often mispronounced, so please don't be offended if I say your name incorrectly. But Syed Kashif, Farooq Kader, Syed Suklain, Adnan Sami, and Nadim Butt. How did I do, Nadim? Oh, you're muted.
You did excellent.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you very much for inviting myself and my colleague Carla Brito to this meeting. We really appreciate it. Just by way of quick introduction of our company is Clearport International. We've been in business for close to 2 decades, mainly in the mobility business of helping people come to Canada and helping people from Canada travel and go abroad as well. We're very focused on collaborations and ethical practices. So that's how we build our businesses, on strong ethics and strong values, doing things properly. As many of you would know or be aware of, the immigration the movement of people from country to country is something that is rife with exploitation, as we're seeing in the current world today. In our side of the world anyways, we're seeing at the border of the United States and Mexico, the crisis that's taking place there. Those are real crises and they happen. And so our company, we take that the responsibility of immigration and recruitment very seriously. We have 3 business lines, very distinct, but that actually collaborate and work well together. One is human capital management. So that's helping people from other countries come and work in Canada. The second one is student mobility, which is helping students from abroad come to work and study in Canada. And the third one is our market development business, wherein we help people invest in Canada, help people from Canada do stuff abroad. In the worker mobility, as Nadim correctly stated, we have offices in Latin America, Europe, Southeast Asia, and we're currently, with Nadim's support, we're currently establishing offices in other parts of Asia as well. We are grateful to have a great partner in Nepal, which is a very good partner in Nepal that we've known for quite some time, that has been amazing. And we've proven concept there. We brought many people from Nepal to Canada to school and various other adventures. So we also look at workers and people from Philippines, for example, traveling to the Gulf states and the Gulf countries. So there's an interest there where we're helping people from the Philippines work in places like Dubai. But we are a company that takes this very seriously. We do rely heavily on experts. And I should state at the beginning of it that anything with immigration is a personal thing. So we can give general answers to questions, but for very detailed and specific answers, it's on a case-by-case basis, because it just depends on the person's situation. Before we started this formal call, there were some questions, question, for example, about the point system, and we can discuss the point system at length. But if people don't qualify for the point system, that doesn't close the door on immigration to Canada. That just might close the door on that particular strategy, but there's other strategies available. So our company has been in this business for many years. Even through the pandemic, we helped a lot of people come to work in Canada, especially in jobs that are considered essential, like healthcare. Truck drivers come to mind. Even, believe it or not, cooks. We brought many cooks from Morocco during this pandemic. So there is still some mobility between the countries, and we look at projects all over the world and have helped Canadian companies collaborate with companies abroad to do various projects in all sorts of spheres. So grateful to be here. I'm hopeful that if anybody has any questions, that we'll be able to address them and hopefully answer as many as we can. And yeah, just thankful for the opportunity. So thanks again, you guys. Thanks to the society for inviting us, and I'll turn it back over to you, Nadim.
Yes, Lyle, the first question person has asked me a couple of times that he's a professional and he has master's degree, and he says, I am little bit over age. What are the possibilities of me coming to Canada? What stream would you recommend for him?
Likely the labor market impact assessment. So an LMIA based job, typically, depending what type of professional he is. So that would mean that, just to explain what a labor market impact assessment is, that's where the employer demonstrates that they can't find that particular person, that skill set and that person in Canada. So depending on his profession, if the type of work that he's in is in high demand in Canada, then it would be obviously easier than if it's in lower demand. But even if it's in lower demand, we can look to certain areas. So for example, and I'll just give one very brief example, a mechanical engineer. A mechanical engineer looking to be employed in Calgary at this moment, where I am right now, it would be difficult because there's lots of mechanical engineers right now that are looking for work within Calgary. But if that same mechanical engineer was willing to relocate to, let's say, Northern Ontario, just as an example, there may be opportunities there where that employer in Northern Ontario can't find someone to fill that role. So if someone doesn't qualify because of age or because of other extenuating circumstances that make them ineligible for something like express entry, then there still is that employer-based labor market impact assessment that we can rely on. So introducing them to an employer that can hire them, and then the employer going through the steps to hire people. And that's how we bring 95% of the workers.
Okay. So there are some questions. I think I will let Skran Bhai and Adnan Bhai to handle the question side.
So
Skran Bhai?
Nadeem Bhai, I think we'll leave the questions towards the end. Let's hear a few words from Carla, and then we will open up the questions.
Yeah. So,
Sure. Carla, do you want to say a few things?
Carla, you are mute. Zafar Bhai, is Carla, can she unmute herself?
She might be having some technical difficulties.
So in the meanwhile, why don't we take a few questions?
Sure.
The first of all, I think, Kyle, the question for you is the name of your company.
Our company is Clearport.
And in the chat box, if you could please share the contact information so that people.
Sure, that's all I'll do. I'll just put our website in the chat box, and that'll be the easiest, and then people can go right on and look at our website.
Okay. So a question from Anurag. There's an employee back home. He's a branch manager, age 35, has wife, no kids, and IELTS is 7 score. What are the chances from provincial or federal, considering his score is only 370?
I'm hoping Carla can come on and answer. I'm just not sure of what the drawdowns are now on scores. Actually, she just texted me, Nadeem, and she said that it's not allowing her to unmute. Can you unmute her as the administrator? Whoever the administrator is?
Yeah, I will do so. So she is co-host now. She can do it.
So Carla, go ahead. You should be able to unmute now.
And you can, Carla, if she can show
she's
the
unmuted
video as well. Carla, you are unmuted now. You can speak.
Nadeem Bhai, where I see she's not unmuted yet.
Oh, she's been muted again. She's co-host. She can unmute herself easily.
I just asked her to log out and log back in. Sometimes with Zoom, that will fix that.
So in the meanwhile, what we can do is move on to the next question. Kyle, Lyle, you might be able to answer that one. What is the outlook of someone who has masters in environmental sciences from Pakistan and interested in working and eventually migrating here in Canada?
Yeah, what I always recommend people do, what I recommend people do, that sounds really promising, actually. Environmental, anyone with an environmental background, and that's definitely something that people are always looking for. What I always recommend people do is to go to job boards, specifically Indeed or even the Canada Job Bank. Both, if you're going to choose one, then Indeed would be the first one, and look at jobs across the country. And you can obviously filter what types of jobs you're looking for, and then from that you can see the types of opportunities that are available, and that gives you a pretty good indication of where it's at. On the job bank, you can actually click on the job title, and it will tell you the prospects in various regions. So you can actually go to various regions of the country and see what the prospects are like for that job, like what the demand is, and what the supply of candidates is. But for someone with a master's degree that speaks English, is fluent in English, and wanting to come to Canada, for sure there's lots of streams. Probably the easiest stream would be, again, that labor market impact assessment. But I believe, and I, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but I believe that once the pandemic is behind us, our government will be again aggressively looking for people, especially educated people, to come to Canada. And there will be programs available for engineers and other types of professionals with master's degrees, et cetera, that meet the English and or French qualifications to come to Canada quite easily through those streams.
Thanks, Lyle. I think next question is for Nadeem Bhai. I think being the Southeast Asia representative, question from Amama Kanwal. How we can contact you after meeting?
Nadeem, you're muted.
Sorry, I have already typed in the chat box. I have my contact details are there, and they can contact, and Lyle's contact detail also I can put it there. I have already sent the Clearport International email. In fact, Lyle has given the website as well. So
yes,
feel free to contact me or Lyle anytime.
Yeah, anytime. I'm available. I'll put my cell number on there too, just so that if people want to reach out on via cell phone, then they can certainly feel comfortable doing that. So on WhatsApp or whatever other medium they want to try, or my email address as well. Obviously, that's a good way, because like I said, and it's really important to note that this immigration is. Canada is a country that wants more people, frankly, and Canada is also a country that their racism isn't evident here at the immigration level. So there certainly won't be any people disqualified because of where they're from or other things. It really comes down to the need for people here. When you're dealing with educated people coming, it comes down to the needs. And so if you have a profession where there's going to be a need, you may have to leave some of the more dense urban centers to seek employment in places that there aren't as many people. Because if you go to a Toronto, for example, or even a Vancouver, there might be more people than jobs at this current time. But if you're willing to expand your horizons a little bit and look to, in BC, for example, places like Kamloops or Prince George or some of those types of places, there might be a lot better opportunities. And that's something we as a company help you with. We work closely with all the people that we represent and do that. And it's important to note that with employment, through that labor market impact assessment stream, that is something that the employer in Canada pays for. That doesn't come at an expense to the candidate coming. Sometimes the candidates will have to pay for their airfare to fly to Canada and some of those types of costs. But there's not a cost from Clearport. Like, we don't charge you money to find you a job. We want to find you a job because the employer will pay us money to find the talent. That's how our business works, and that's how it needs to work everywhere. In Asia, in particular, when I was in India, they sell LMIA spots like candy, and that's not ethical. That frankly is not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is, again, to match the people with the employer, make sure it's a fit, explain to them all of those things that they need to consider when they're moving from a place like Pakistan, for example, to Canada. The first thing that comes to mind is taxes, cost of living, the climate, obviously. We want them to really consider everything before they make a decision to move from Lahore to Calgary, for example.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Lloyd. That was a pretty precise answer. I hope Mama got the answer, or sorry, who got?
Anurag.
Anurag.
Yeah.
Next question is from Mohammed. I was wondering if you could shed some light on individual/family sponsorship program, particularly sponsoring sister, brother, and their children.
I'm hoping Carla's on now. Carla, are you on here now?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes. I'm not familiar with that, the family sponsorship program at all. Carla, can you shed a little bit of light on that? Just generally how that works?
Generally, again, you have to look at really specific things that I'm probably not going to be able to go in full detail, but you have to look at whether the sponsor has the eligibility to be a sponsor, and then you also have to look at whether the person can be sponsored. So it's hard to, again, review in detail. I don't have much information.
But is it, Carla, is for someone to sponsor someone, probably the minimum criteria is they would have to be a Canadian citizen, correct?
So Carla, what is the minimum criteria? I mean, the person who is sponsoring their parents, what is the minimum criteria for them?
Carla? Oh, we might have lost her again.
Maybe she is having some technical glitches.
Must be.
Sounds
Yeah.
like it, yeah. We can move on to the next.
I can answer his question a little bit, just a little bit more detail. So what Carla is saying is that we would have to look at both sides and make sure that they're eligible for sponsorship. We have seen these types of sponsorships, but there's so many variables that come into play on both sides. So you're looking at the person that's sponsoring needs to have minimum criteria, and I'm certain that that's at the very least Canadian citizenship, consistent employment, some of those other things. The person that is seeking the sponsorship, similarly, there's criteria set up for them, and there would be some education requirements and other elements of it that would come into play. But it's certainly something that we can visit, and if he's interested, he can reach out to us directly via the email addresses of Nadeem, myself, and then we can give him a consultation at that point and look at his specific situation.
Thanks, Lyle. Next item is again from Mama Kanwal. I am doctor by profession. My age is 29. I have 4 years work experience, and my husband has 5 years work experience. My IELTS score is 7. I have EE score 381. Just because of IELTS, I am not able to reach desired score. What you will recommend?
Okay. Again, I was hoping, Carla, because I know that they drew down below 381 at some points they have before. So she is registered, obviously, with that 381 score. What maybe if we could just ask an extra question there, and that, what does the husband do? So she's a doctor, and what does her husband do?
It says 5-year experience. I'm assuming he is doctor too.
So they're both doctors. We need doctors in this country. So that's one for sure. They should reach out to us directly, because if they're doctors, we can look at that. The biggest challenge with doctors is that credentialing piece. There's a joke in Toronto that it's a long-standing joke that if you need the best doctor, call a taxi. And it sounds funny, but it's actually, it is funny, but it's true, and then it's kind of sad at the same time. There's so many qualified people that are here that just haven't maybe come in the right way, and so it's difficult for them to be credentialed. But I know that with doctors for sure, we can look at that. And there are companies that specialize in those credentialing to make sure that they can come and practice fairly easily. And there is opportunities for doctors in Canada. We are short of doctors, especially again in those rural settings, the smaller cities and towns throughout the provinces. If they're willing to work in those types of settings to start, then that they could for sure, we could find them opportunities here.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can,
Yeah.
Carla. What's
Okay.
the express entry drawing to?
It just like right now, sorry, it didn't let me unmute, so I've been writing on the chat.
Yeah, that's
Um,
okay.
It's so yes, with express entry from outside Canada right now, the government is not doing any draws, as some people may have heard. Currently, they're only doing draws for classes inside Canada. Um, it's expected that that's going to be resuming as soon as probably the borders reopen and things start getting back to normal. But for now, unfortunately, the government is not doing any draws for the federal skilled worker class or federal skilled trade class against only the Canadian experience class, and that's probably the one that you were referring to, Lyle, the one that had a really low draw. So it's hard
Okay.
right now to give you guys a gauge on points. We can only go from the from almost a year ago when it was the last draw outside Canada, and yeah, the scores and the draws are usually a little bit high for people who are outside Canada. There's a lot more expectation as for language, as for work experience. So for somebody who is scoring low right now on IELTS, my biggest advice will probably be to invest on some English classes, try to get that IELTS higher, because it's expected that the next draws for federal skilled worker are going to be highly competitive. There hasn't been any draws for a year. So obviously there's a lot of candidates in the pool. There's a lot of expectations, and likely the barrier is going to be a little bit high in the beginning. So we have to make sure that anybody who's struggling getting a high language score, that is able to take this time while there's no draws available to try to improve those language exams.
Right. Yeah. So I think the key is for the doctors, for any of the professionals there, reach out to us. Please just send us an email and let's at least start communicating outside of this this session, because as Carla said, that those draws will come back, and if we can do anything to help increase your scores, but moreover, if we can look at finding you actual jobs here, then the express entry won't be as applicable. We may be able to find an employer that would sponsor you right away and offer you a job. So let's look to that stream as well, because that is something that our healthcare system, we have a first world healthcare system here, as everyone knows, but it was exposed during this COVID pandemic, especially in the obviously in the senior care. That's been something that's been really exposed as something that we just don't have enough healthcare professionals, and I mean that all the way to from obviously doctors and different specialties and nurses aides and lab technicians, and there's a significant shortage of those types of skills here. So if I have a crystal ball and I'm guessing, I would certainly give you a very strong educated guess and opinion that when this pandemic's over, our government's going to be aggressively pursuing healthcare professionals from all over the world. So my advice to any healthcare professional would be, if you really want to come to Canada, to just fasten your seatbelts, because I think they're going to be really recruiting heavily in the coming years.
Thanks, Loyal. I'm going to move back to, since Carla is back, I'm going to move back to the first question from Anurag. An employee back home is a branch manager. His age is 35, has wife, no kids, but IELTS 7, the score is 7. What are his chances from provincial or federal, considering his score is only 370? So Carla, if you could please shed some light on it.
I'm really sorry. It seems like Carla must just be, she's intermittent. She comes on and then she can't. So again, I can shed some light on that, very similar to the last thing we said. I think, as Carla said, they're not drawing from outside the country right now. I think the best strategy for him would be to get that resume to Nadeem or myself. We can look at it closely, and then we'll give him some advice on some on seeking some jobs. Because branch manager, I need to understand a little more about what that is, his experience, etc. But his English certainly seems strong enough that I think rather than waiting for an express entry, would be to look at an employer-sponsored job work permit, and that's something we can likely find him fairly quickly.
Thank you,
So
Lyle.
before we take on the next question, I just wanted to ask Zafar Bhai if you can see if Carla, she's facing some problem. She's texting me that it doesn't let her unmute. So Zafar Bhai, if you can look into that. And yes, sorry, Saklan White. Okay. Thank you, Zafar Bhai. Carla, you can unmute yourself whenever you want now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It is so frustrating. I'm trying to
I'm
unmute
I'm
and it
sorry.
doesn't let me.
I'm sorry. I think
No problem.
the thing is that when you are going in and out of this meeting, then again we have to make you co-host. But anyways,
No
no
problem.
problem.
So yes, again, I with somebody who again is just with this course that you are providing me, it's under 400, so I have to be honest. It does look a little bit hard for an invitation for permanent residency with those scores being outside Canada. So sometimes when your scores are under the 400 mark, there's only a few suggestions I can do. Again, improving language. If language doesn't work, then I'll probably go back to what Lao's been speaking to into trying to get a job or secure a job into Canada, because that's what the work experience in Canada will definitely be something that will give you those points. Another thing that can give you those points as well is studying in Canada, but genuinely studying something that can further your career. That's another way as well to gain points for express entry. If you find that the language, even if your language is higher, you still don't get those points. So that's probably the only thing left to do for somebody like with that type of profile as the branch manager that you were speaking about.
Thanks, Carla.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna let my mute. I'm gonna keep myself unmuted so
Yeah,
doesn't keep
I think
happening.
it's better that way.
So these were the questions so far posted in the chat box. Guys, feel free to ask your question. Actually, another question just came in from Anurag. Does Clearport peers up with the RCIC immigration consultant, like a partnership to help them with getting RCIC own clients to immigrate and get them IMIA?
Yes, that's what we do. We actually have an in-house immigration consultant, and we retain immigration lawyers as well. So that's exactly what we've been speaking about. We keeping in mind the LMIA isn't something that the worker gets. The LMIA is something that the employer gets, and I think that's where this gets mixed up a little bit, especially with people that are selling spots on LMIAs, etc. That's an employer issue. A worker can't just go get an LMIA. And what an LMIA is, it's an acronym for Labor Market Impact Assessment. So what it entails is an employer demonstrating to the Canadian government that they have done everything they can to hire Canadians first, because the government wants to make sure that they're paying the right amount. They want to make sure that they're not bringing someone from another country when the unemployment rate is high in that particular field here. And they want to make sure, frankly, that it's an ethical process. What we've done even through the pandemic, as I said, is we've used the labor market impact assessment to bring truck drivers, for example, long haul truck drivers. This are people that there's a shortage of in our country. You can't just suddenly wave a magic wand and have lots of experienced truck drivers that have the experience and the qualifications. So when our employers advertise for those jobs, they look for people, and then when they've exhausted those efforts, the government still wants to see, and they still have to apply to the government and prove to the government that they have exhausted those efforts. Then the government issues what's called a positive labor market impact assessment. Then from there, they would go and hire someone from another country, and that person would have to qualify, and then they would have to apply for a work permit, which we do for them through our company. We apply for that work permit and help them with that process of coming to Canada, the settlement, integration, etc. Over and above that, all of our employers, I can say that almost assuredly, but I would say 99+% of the employers that we work with are looking to help these employees gain permanent residency. So part of the strategy is obviously, because it's a big investment, so they want to bring them here to work, and they're going to pay them what they would pay a Canadian, so they're going to be paid properly, etc. But over and above that, the employers are very interested in helping them find or helping them attain permanent residency. And as Carla stated, that Canadian experience on an LMIA is typically enough to take them over the top for getting their nominated provincially or gaining residency.
Thanks, Lyle. Our next question is from Sadat Bhai. Can you please shed some light on the student visa program to get an admission in a postgraduate course? What are the requirements, or an express entry is a better route?
Yeah, no, students the easiest, because as students you're paying to come to Canada. So we had pre-pandemic, we had 672,000 international students in Canada. The majority, 2/3 of them from Asia. So when I say Asia, the number one country is India, number two is China, and those countries have flip-flopped over the years. But with programs, it's an institutional question. So, but typically, as you get higher up, believe it or not, the undergraduate programs are typically have pretty stringent English requirements. When you get into the higher programs like the master's programs and doctorate programs, the English isn't as that's just from my experience. The institutions aren't as nervous about English as they are at the undergraduate levels. But easy to get here. It's just, it costs money. So you have to be able to afford to pay. You have to be financially admissible. You obviously have to be criminally admissible. You can't have problems, immigration problems between countries and different things. And if you can, if it's a viable program and you get accepted into the program, then it would work. Those programs typically all have their own English requirements, and the institution set out those requirements in this case. So when Carla's talking about improving your English scores for residency, that's one thing. That's IRCC. Institutions can give letters of acceptance. We have students that come from Nepal that I mentioned earlier, that they come into various categories where the institutions don't have any English requirements whatsoever. So it just depends on what they're coming to study. But the short answer, I know I gave a long answer, but people who want to study here, Canada is very bullish on that. And when they're in an accredited program, it's important to note that they can work. So they can work 20 hours a week, and they also will qualify for a postgraduate work permit that, again, they can work after they graduate from school with an open work permit. And then they can use that experience with their education and their time in Canada to apply for permanent residency.
Thanks, Lyle. Another question from Anurag. Considering stressing on LMIA, what professions would you stress more to match and make them immigrant to Canada and get the PR?
Well, I think again, I think I spoke to it earlier. I think there's a couple things you need to do there. You need to go on Indeed and look at where these jobs are. But healthcare is going to be a big push in the coming coming years. Technology. So anybody with intellectual any type of like IT backgrounds, engineering. There'll be. You just have to think of most professions, and I think Canada's going to be struggling with some shortages in a lot of those areas.
if I may add as well, if anybody has looked, anybody who's interested on maybe a particular province that they have either researched or looked at, every province has on their website, on their provincial nominee programs, a list of what occupations is what they call a high demand occupation list. And every province identifies what kind of professions they're looking for. If you look at Saskatchewan, they may be looking at truck drivers. If you look at least in Alberta, they're looking at IT professionals. So that can give you people as well a very clear list of what kind of professions every province is looking at. And if you happen to be lucky and find a province that is looking for that profession, if your profile matches that profession, then some provinces do consider people who are outside of Canada. So without having any experience previously in the province or in the country, you may be able to secure a job offer with the help of the province. So that's another thing that they can look and have an idea of what professions they can focus on. But Lao kind of cover some of them: healthcare, IT, and like I said, in some provinces, long haul truck drivers as well. There's a lot more than that, but they can, of course, do their research on that.
Good.
Thank you both. Question, my husband is a chemical engineer with 10 years experience working as a safety process engineer in Saudi. He's 40 years. I am a postgraduate in nutrition, but not working, age 37 years. We have 3 kids. What are our prospects for immigration?
Yeah, I think strong again. I think it's the chemical engineer piece. We're a province right now that's rife with people in that profession that are looking for work. But that'll be back. And again, I think the prospects are good. I think there's a real good opportunity. The nutrition piece is, again, that's something that would fall under the healthcare category, and I think there's some real opportunities there as well. So Canada is a country, as we know, 35 million people, and it's not enough people, and certainly we're a country that needs experienced people. So when you think of her husband has experience in Saudi, obviously as a chemical engineer, so he's going to have a lot of relevant experience that he could bring to Canada into the sector here. I'm assuming oil and gas is in the energy sectors where he's working. So yeah, I think there's a very good opportunities here for that. I think we just have to got to wait out this current situation and see where it's going to leave us, right?
Yes.
Canada is going to get very bullish on hydrocarbons. I think there will be some other areas that you'll see Canada really grow in. And frankly, the Americans have a progressive running the country now. So you're going to see, I think they won't be oil independent. So there might be some other opportunities for Canada as well. So I still think Canada's got quite a few years left. And I think we'll compete well in the world in the energy sector. So we need talented people like her husband.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Loyal. This is a continuation of Sadat Bhai's question. He originally asked student visa program. And now question is that my cousin is mastered in social work and worked in India. She is interested in coming over. What is a better route, student visa or express entry?
Well, again, as Carla, I think Carla alluded to, the express entry is not open now, and we don't know when it's going to open. So a student visa, if she can come on a student visa, I can tell her 100% the social work is something that's a burning point with our government. I've met with the people in our provincial health association, and I'm sure that I think she said her cousin will know this as well. This is an international issue. The pandemic has certainly brought emphasized the need for people in this area to help people. So I think, again, that's something, if they can afford that strategy of coming on a study permit, that's the quickest. And they could get here fairly quickly to do some studies and then use that to go and find work, and we can help her find work. And there's lots of opportunities for her to work here and figure out if this is a place she wants to stay. So high demand would be my short answer.
Nice. Next question is from Junaid. He's asking, did you guys provide help in getting a work permit to those who are not in Canada, like under temporary foreign worker stream, or to secure job offer for direct PR for outsiders.
Yeah, that's what our business is built on, and that's what we started on. So we've been through the labor market impact assessments with hundreds of employers. It used to be called the labor market opinion, the LMO. Now it's an LMIA. So yeah, that's what our business is built on. So yes, we work with candidates that are part of our company. We focus heavily on them to try and find them opportunities to work, and being able to draw on candidates that speak English and have the skill set is something we like to be able to do, and then work and try and help them find employers. But as I said, it's a collaborative effort, because we also challenge them to, as Carla said, look at various provinces, look at watch those job boards and see where there's some demand, and then we go out, we try and make sure we can secure them employment with good, responsible employers. So that is what we do.
So Junaid, I would suggest that you keep Kyle's contact information, Nadeem Bhai's contact information, and have a discussion post this event for further detail.
Sure.
Next question is from Muhammad Alim. How much is usual processing time for LMIA? Like duration from the job offer till the approval of PR, as employer may not want to wait for long.
Well, those are a bunch of steps there he's asking. So the first one is the LMIA. So an LMIA, as I said, the employer, first of all, you have to find the employer that's looking for people. We have employers right now with positive LMIAs. So we have employers in various sectors that have them, but if they're starting from scratch, they have to demonstrate they've advertised for Canadians. That has to run for 4 weeks. The adjudication process for LMIAs, it varies from time to time. I think right now it's probably 4 to 6 months for an employer to get that approval. And then the work permit is the next step. And the work permit, depending on what country they're coming from, and it's so hard to predict right now with COVID, but we're seeing them in various parts of the world. It can be as high as 16 weeks just to get the work permit. So, that's a bit of time. Once they're here, it typically requires 6 months to 1 year experience, depending on the position and depending on before they can apply for permanent residency. And as I said, and I meant what I said, we tell them at the beginning, employers don't want to invest. The employers we work with typically don't want to invest in bringing foreign workers into the country unless they're intending to sponsor them and support them through the permanent residency process. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to pay for the permanent residency process, but that does mean that they're going to support them through it. So they're going to make, they want them to do that as part of this process, because otherwise they're just getting a rental worker for a couple of years, and it can be a little cumbersome. Work permits typically are 2 years. There's some cases where they're 1 year, and somewhere they're 3, but typically it's a 2-year work permit is typically what we have for the work permits that we bring people in for.
Thank you. Next question is from Anurag. For immigration as a student, do you have direct tie-ups under SDS stream with all public funded colleges in Canada, or do you pair up with a third party?
We pair up. So yeah, we have relationships with lots of colleges. We have embedded in our website, we use Applyboard. Just because Applyboard, a couple Iranian guys that came here as engineers actually and started this company, and they've done a really good job of negotiating deals with a lot of universities across Canada, but they don't have every university. But we do, because it makes our work easier if we can do some work behind the scenes with them, and then we will work with each student and make sure that that's the best fit, the one they found on Applyboard. If not, we negotiate with other schools. So almost every public institution in Canada and most private institutions in Canada are keen and eager to host and have international students. So we have relationships with hundreds of schools across the country. Applyboard has relationships with thousands, and so we really felt that to make our job easier, we'd start with that Applyboard embedded into our software, and then from there we work with we work directly with the institutions, but most importantly, we work directly with the students. We want to make sure that it's a fit for them, that they're getting to the right school for what they're trying to accomplish. And then we want to make sure there's housing and quite often part-time work available in those schools, et cetera, or in the area where the school is, so that we can help them realize their whole goal.
Thanks, Lyle. So we have a couple of questions lined up. Just a time check. We have about 10 more minutes
Sure.
for this workshop. And guys, if there's anything that you feel like it's a quick answer, feel free to post. Otherwise, I think you can have this discussion post this workshop or event with either Loyal, Carla, or Nadeem Bhai.
Saklan Bhai?
Yep.
Saklan Bhai, I have a couple of questions. Can I ask, or do you want to go
Sure.
to the chat? So I have one question. If somebody is not qualified for express entry and he wants to take the route of student visa, so he wants to take an admission in as a student. So is there any age limit for that, or is there any, like, if he's, for example, 40, 45 years old and he cannot qualify as a student, so can he take he has a master's degree and he wants to take admission in, let's say, UFA or UFC, can he come to as a student and then work through that process and become a PR?
Carla?
Yes, I think my advice will be to first figure out where that person is at points. Like, I don't know if that person has already figured out where that person stands as for the point breakdown on express entry, but it will probably be smart to figure that out first before you spend a lot of money into studying something in Canada and then potentially not being able to get any points after that. I can tell you that definitely the older you get, there's eventually a point where you don't get any more points. So
Okay.
so that's something that it definitely has to be looked at. So
Okay.
figure out where you are first on points, then after that you can see how many more points you can get from studying in Canada, how many more
Okay.
points you can get from working in Canada, etc.
Good. Thanks, Carla.
Excellent
no
answer.
problem.
Excellent. One more question, Saklan Bhai. Sorry. I have something in my mind as well. So let's say, how do you connect let's say, for example, if a company comes to you, Lyle, and asks you for 5 foreign workers, how do you look for workers, and do you have a pool of workers which are talented in your which are registered in your database so that you can just comb through it, or what's the process of hiring somebody if somebody like a company comes to you and you start looking for a foreign worker or something like that? Do you have a pool of talented people, or?
Yes. Yeah. We have a database that we keep of candidates. And then employers do come to us. I'm grateful for that, even through this pandemic. But we prefer to do it the reverse way. We prefer to find the candidates first and then go out and look for the jobs for them. But
Okay.
we do have employers that come to us, and we have a pool of candidates that are registered with us, that we have their resumes, and we can do searches and find them based on that. So yeah, we post jobs, but our preference is to have the candidates first and then go out and
Okay.
look for work for them. But we do that, yes.
So do you charge anything if somebody wants to register at your website?
No,
Or
we
it's-
have a membership fee for Clearport.
Okay.
We have a $125 membership fee for Clearport, but that fee is offset by the fact that we give them a free success readiness tool, an English assessment tool that tests their English and their other essential skills that are in line with
Okay.
the Canadian National Occupation Classification. So we have a $125 fee, but we give them a gift that's worth more than $125, if that makes sense.
Okay. And we can share your website address as well in the chat as well. So if somebody wants to register, then they can register.
I put it in there. Yeah, I have it in there. And
Okay.
Nadeem's had quite a few people that have registered over the year,
Okay.
the last little while. So yeah, that's something that we do.
Perfect. Thank you, Saklan Bhai. Thank you, Nadeem. Thank
Not
you.
a problem.
Thanks, Lyle.
Okay.
A question
Any
from
other questions in the chat? Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, there are actually 3 questions. We were going to go through them very quickly. We have about
Sure. Yeah.
6 minutes.
I'll answer quick.
So
Okay.
question from Ahmad: for doctors and pharmacists, how can you help to get a job offer without exam?
Let me look at that one again. Like, those are the ones I really encourage them. They don't need to buy a membership to Clearport. I think they should email Nadeem and I directly, and let us look at those for doctors and pharmacists, because that's something I really want to understand. The most important thing to me with that is credentialing. I have to make sure that their credentials are recognized here, and if they're not, what it will take to get them recognized here. And I know that there's firms that specialize in that, so please have them reach out directly to Nadeem and myself via email, and we will respond to them personally and directly. Okay.
Awesome.
And that's for all the doctors and pharmacists. Healthcare professionals, please. Yeah, let's just do it that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Next one, does Clearport only focus on LMIA student visas, or does it offer for people who wants to come in as investors or entrepreneurs, like buying a business or buying an investment to get them immigrate as PR?
Yeah, no, we do that all the time. That's something what we do. The investment piece is an easy piece as well. There's opportunities, and the provinces have their own programs as well. So every province has their own program. But yeah, we love helping people buy businesses here. That's something that we really enjoy doing, and we work with people trying to invest in Canada all the time, and we've had really good success with that. So that's something we can definitely help them with, is that investment piece. And then with an eye on permanent residency, again, a very individual and personal thing. So we'd have to look at the situation and what they're trying to buy, etc. But there's lots of opportunities in Canada in that regard. Yes.
Awesome.
So
Last
Kalam
question.
bhai, yes, please go ahead. I actually just wanted to introduce Farooq Bhai as well. He's online, so I thought that he's our regular host. I'm just makeshift host. So if he has anything to say, but anyways, you can ask the question first, and then we can introduce him.
Thank you, Farooq. Nice to meet you virtually. Thanks for allowing us on this forum. Appreciate it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. Last question I have in the chat box is, I want to know what about the process for 2 years of open work permit? The process start from October 2020, but still halt.
I would say that it's normal. Right now, applications from outside Canada are taking a very long time, and they depend a lot on embassy closures and also embassies working on with critical staff. We have some applications out of Mexico, for example, that they have been submitted since the summer of last year as well, and we don't have any response yet. But that's because that particular embassy has been closed for during all this COVID time. So delays are right now pretty normal. If it exceeds the processing time, just send a case-specific inquiry and try to ask immigration about your file. But right now it's pretty normal. Yep.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I want to close on a question that you guys were asking me, and then I got disconnected. You guys were talking about sponsoring, and I got cut out. So I just wanted to point out that there's also only certain family members that can be sponsored. Like for example, most of the time, typically brothers and sisters cannot be sponsored. Sponsorship is typically for either dependent children, spouses, or parents and grandparents. But in the current time, there's no policy for sponsoring a brother or a sibling, unless there's like extenuating circumstances, which is rarely the case, that will ever happen. So just wanted to close on that question as well.
Thanks
Awesome.
very much, Kara.
No
Thank you.
problem.
Farooq Bhai, over to you. Sorry, Nadeem Bhai, over to you to introduce Farooq Bhai and the rest.
So Farooq Bhai is our regular host, and he's actually is in Pakistan these days, right? And I thought it's better if he wanted to speak something, but it will be a little bit earlier for in the morning in Pakistan, so maybe he would not. But anyways, since we are just 1 minute short of closing, so let me thank Lyle and Carla. We thank you very much for coming on Sunday at this time and giving us quite a good answer. I mean, all the participants are quite happy with your answers. And in fact, I would also like to tell all the participants that if they have any questions or concerns, they can directly contact us. Lyle number is there, my number is there, and email is there, and we will be very happy to answer their question, whatever they have. And this 1 hour we were not able to capture everything, so feel free to call us or contact us through email or through our cell numbers.
I
So with
just want
that,
to say, Aloy and Carla and Nadeem Bhai, I think a very effective session. You guys have provided enough early information for everybody to get started. A lot of gray areas where a lot of questions were answered in a way that people have a little bit of more clarity, and very spot on. Thank you very much for your participation, and really appreciate
absolutely.
the time. So
No, we appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And again, thanks to everyone. And have a nice
Yes, thank
evening
you.
to those in Canada and a great Monday to the people elsewhere in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Bye.
Good
Have a
day.
very good night.
Take care.
You too.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.